The Beverly Hillbillies, A Journey to the Golden Coast. Come and listen to a story about a man named Jed. He was a poor mountaineer who barely kept his family fed. And then one day, while he was shooting at some food, up from the ground came a bubbling crude oil, that is, black gold. Texas tea. Well, the first thing you know, old Jed is a millionaire. The kinfolk said, "Jed, move away from there." They said that California is the place he ought to be. So they loaded up the truck and they moved to Beverly Hills, that is. Swimming pools, movie stars, the Beverly Hillbillies. The morning sun rose over the quiet town of Hooterville as the Clampett family prepared for their departure. Jed Clampett, a man of simple wisdom and great heart, stood by the old truck. He told the young ones to go in, say goodbye to Mr. Drucker, and then be on their way. However, Uncle Jed found that leaving was not as easy as it sounded for everyone. Young Jethro Bodine looked at his uncle with a long face and said that he did not want to leave Hooterville. Ellie Mae, with her love for all creatures, felt the same way. Jethro explained his reluctance by claiming that he was the first real, live, big-time Hollywood producer and director these little old country girls had ever seen. Jed, being the voice of reason, told the boy he was sorry, but they really had to go. When Jethro asked why, noting that he had already gotten himself engaged to 4 of them, Jed pointed out that those were 4 very good reasons to leave right there. Granny, the feisty matriarch of the family, also felt a pang of sadness. She sure did hate to leave because there was a certain gentleman who wanted to be her sweetheart. She thought of Sam Drucker, the town storekeeper, postmaster, newspaper publisher, and banker. Jed reminded her that it was not as if they were leaving forever and that they would be back. When Granny asked when that might be, Jed suggested they might return at Christmas time. That thought cheered her up, but for now, they had to bring Miss Jane's car back to her. They entered the store and greeted Mr. Drucker. Sam Drucker greeted them warmly in return. He mentioned to Ellie Mae that E.B. was waiting in the back room to tell her goodbye. Sam expressed that he was mighty sorry to see them leaving for Beverly Hills so soon. Jed replied that it was not from choice and that they had never met a nicer bunch of people. Sam felt the same way about them. Granny asked Sam if he was going to forget her, but Sam assured her it would most likely be the other way around. He joked about Granny living in a movie capital surrounded by matinee idols. Granny, however, was not impressed by Hollywood glamour boys like Bull Montana. At her age, she was looking for more than just a pretty face. Before they left, Jed wanted to add a little something to the savings account Granny had started for the baby. Sam opened his bank for business. Jed handed over a couple of hundred. When Sam asked if he should count it, Jed told him that if he said it was a couple of hundred, then it was a couple of hundred. Sam accepted the deposit and handed Jed the slip. Meanwhile, Ellie Mae returned, looking confused because she could not find E.B. anywhere. Sam found that funny because E.B. had been there at 5:30 this morning looking very sad. Jed decided they would have to see him next trip and told everyone to be on their way. As they moved toward the door, Jed noticed someone hiding and told E.B. to get out of that apple barrel. E.B. climbed out, and Jed offered to pay Mr. Drucker for the apples. Sam said they were on the house, but Jethro interrupted, saying that once word got around that a big Hollywood producer and director endorsed his apples, they would sell very fast. Jed noticed E.B. was going fast anyway and suggested they should do the same. Sam wished them well and hoped to see them at Christmas. He even offered to fix them a little bag of candy for the trip. As they reached the truck, Jed asked Jethro if he had put the suitcases in the trunk. Jethro confirmed he had, but the truck seemed heavy. It looked like the suitcases did not want to leave either. Suddenly, they found E.B. hiding in the trunk. Jed told him to wake up. E.B., confused, asked if they were there already and where Ellie was. When he saw her, he told her she had to marry him now because she had taken him across the state line. He looked around and remarked that Beverly Hills looked a lot like Hooterville. Jed had to remind him that it actually was Hooterville. Mr. Drucker came out to inform E.B. that Mr. Douglas had called looking for him because there were chickens to clean and corn to shuck. E.B. faced a moment of great decision, wondering whether to be a chicken plucker, a corn shucker, or a bullet ducker. Eventually, he went in to call back. Jed said his final goodbye to Mr. Drucker, explaining that their neighbor, Mr. Drysdale, was looking after their place in Beverly Hills and feeding Ellie's critters. Jed suspected Mr. Drysdale might have his hands full. Back in Beverly Hills, Milburn Drysdale was indeed struggling. He complained to Miss Jane Hathaway about what the critters ate. He felt the place had become a zoo, especially since Ellie had a full-grown bear. He had even been forced to give the bear breakfast in bed because the bear slept anywhere he wanted to. Miss Hathaway tried to cheer him up by saying the Clampetts would soon be back, but Mr. Drysdale feared that even if Drucker did not keep them there, the baby, Kathy Jo, would. He described the 2-month-old child as another money-hungry person trying to rob his bank. Mr. Drysdale's troubles continued as he prepared to feed the bear its lunch. He emerged with a torn shirt, complaining that the bear was rotten. He tried to trim the bear's nails, but the bear became violent because it did not like how the bed was tucked in. He even had to deal with a chimpanzee that he had shared a meal with. He told Miss Hathaway he was just about out of patience. He complained about the family of poor backwoods people he had helped, only to face potential bankruptcy if Jed transferred his $80 million to Hooterville. He felt ungratefulness was sharper than a serpent's tooth. Just as Mr. Drysdale was venting his frustrations, Jed Clampett appeared. Mr. Drysdale immediately changed his tone, pretending to be happy to see him. He noticed a young man with Jed and asked who he was. Miss Hathaway explained it was E.B., Ellie's friend and practically her fiancé. Mr. Drysdale was unimpressed by the young man he called a hayseed. He promised he had a better fellow for Ellie Mae, a real country boy who was born so far out in the country that the sun set between his house and town. He and Miss Hathaway left to find this mystery man. Mr. Drysdale decided to recruit Dash Riprock, a famous movie star whose real name was Homer Noodleman. He pressured Dash into pretending to be a simple farm boy from Peoria to win Ellie Mae's heart and keep the Clampett fortune in the bank. Dash was reluctant, but Mr. Drysdale insisted it was the performance of his career. He even wrote country expressions in the crown of Dash's hat for him to use. When they arrived at the Clampett estate, Mr. Drysdale introduced Homer Noodleman to Jed and Granny. Dash tried his best to act the part, claiming he had been out slapping the hogs. Jed and Granny were a bit confused but accepted him. Granny invited him to stay for a supper of sow belly and goat tripe. Dash, losing his nerve, claimed he had to go home to milk the crows, then corrected himself to cows. Jethro was disappointed to see Dash Riprock looking like a common farm boy. As he had promised the girls back home, he would introduce them to a movie star. The situation became even more complicated when E.B. arrived to court Ellie Mae as well. Mr. Drysdale, desperate to keep his plan alive, brought in an old man to play Homer's father, Noble Noodleman. However, the man he hired was grumpy and did not get along with Dash at all. The fake father called Dash a rotten kid, and Dash called him an old nut. A family scrap ensued, with the old man throwing sweet rolls at Mr. Drysdale. Granny and Jed watched the chaos with mild amusement and confusion. Granny wondered how such a wonderful gentleman like Noble Noodleman could have such a rotten son. Jed suggested that perhaps the boy had been away from the farm for too long. In the end, the suitors were gone, and things returned to a semblance of normalcy for the Clampetts. Well, now it is time to say goodbye to Jed and all his kin. They would like to thank you folks for kindly dropping in. You are all invited back next week to this locality to have a heaping helping of their hospitality. Hillbilly that is. Set a spell. Take your shoes off. You all come back now, here?